everyone. Please continue to enjoy your lunch from the Holiday Inn's Albert Gotti Grill. But if you would, please bow your head for just a moment. We've invited South Carolina Representative Michael Rivers to lead us in an invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to gather and to share and to learn and to listen. Father, let us always understand and appreciate the privilege of serving. Now, Father, we thank you for the food that will be served now. We thank you for the hands that prepared it. Let it be used for the uplifting of our body, our mental and emotional capacity. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Please continue to enjoy your meal. But we have an exciting event planned for you all today with a new venue and a new format, so welcome. We're happy to have you all here. The Chamber's committed to help this region be the best it can to live and work and play, and your investment is crucial to our mission. Thank you to our many members and sponsors who are with us today. If you all will help me acknowledge our sponsors who are with us today, I'm going to invite our luncheon sponsors to please stand, but we can hold our applause until the end where we can recognize the presenting sponsor at Lockheed Martin, our partner sponsors at Beaufort Memorial Hospital, Beaufort Jasper County Association of Realtors, Blythe Construction, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Dominion Energy, with additional support from Alliance Consulting Engineers, BP America, CPM Federal Credit Union, Low Country and Resort Islands Tourism Commission, and Southern Carolina Alliance. A big thank you to those sponsors. Please stand. A very special thank you to our Chamber partners. Partners go above and beyond all year long to help us produce events just like today's. Our thanks to our premier partners at Beaufort Memorial Hospital and Hargray, as well as our patron partners at Beaufort Kratom, Dana Anthony Custom Homes, Dominion Energy, First Citizens Bank, Kinghorn Insurance of Beaufort, Lockheed Martin, Marine Corps Community Services at MCCS, and Palmetto State Bank. We'd also like to offer our sincere thanks to the Beaufort County Channel for the filming of today's program. And a special thank you to elected officials that are with us today. Public service is such an important job, and we thank you for the long hours that you work to make this community just a little bit better. I want to introduce them and have them all stand, but if you all will hold your applause until the end, we're going to be meeting today, later on in this program, our Congressman, the United States Representative Joe Cunningham. Dan Head is here representing Senator Lindsey Graham's office, and a thank you to Kathy Crawford today for representing Senator Tim Scott's office. From the South Carolina Senate, it's a pleasure to have Senator Chip Campson with us today, and Senator Tom Davis. From the South Carolina House of Representatives, Representative Jeff Bradley is here, and Shannon Erickson, and Michael Rivers, and Shedron Williams. From Beaufort County Council, we're happy to have the Chairman Stu Rodman with us today, and Vice Chairman Paul Somerville, and the council members York Glover, Alice Howard, Gerald Dawson, Joseph Passament, Mike Covert, and Larry McEllen, with County Treasurer Maria Walls being with us today, and County Administrator Ashley Jacobs. From the Beaufort County School District, we're happy to have with us today Earl Campbell, Melvin Campbell, John Dowling, Tricia Fidrich, Dick Geyer, Joanne Orshak, Vice Chair Kathy Robine, William Smith, David Strabinger, and Rachel Wisniewski, with School Superintendent Dr. Frank Rodriguez. From the town of Port Royal, welcome Mayor Joe DeVito, and council members Jerry Ashmore, Daryl Owens, Kevin Phillips, Mary Beth Hayward, and town manager Van Willis. From the town of Bluffton, we're happy to have with us the mayor, Lisa Sulka, with her town manager, Mark Orlando. From the town of Hilton Head, it's a pleasure to introduce you all to Mayor John McCann, with town administrator Steve Riley. And from the city of Beaufort, we're happy to have their manager, Bill Prokop, and Councilman Stephen Murray with us today. From the city of Hardeeville, welcome Mayor Harry Williams and City Manager Michael Simbor. A big round of applause, and please stand to be recognized. We're happy to have you all with us today. We hope that you notice that they're spread out throughout the luncheon today. We hope that that will give you a chance to network face-to-face with elected officials. We recognize that policy decisions that are made by our elected officials directly impact your business success, and so we want to take a quick look back at 2019. 2019 was a good year. There were a lot of changes made at the ballot box. We welcome new faces at the town of Port Royal, with Mayor Joe DeVito and Kevin Phillips being elected to town council. Congratulations are in order for all of us, from the Chamber's point of view, on the passage of the school referendum. We are celebrating with our friends at Beaufort County School District today, and we welcome new leadership with Dr. Frank Rodriguez helping us move forward, and we are grateful for those changes. Beaufort County welcomed Ashley Jacobs to lead our administration, and we are thankful for her leadership. Acknowledging the success of the past and looking forward, we are hopeful and optimistic about 2020. Last January, we welcomed new representation in Washington, D.C. through the election of Congressman Joe Cunningham. For the past year, he has represented South Carolina 1st Congressional District. The 1st Congressional District encompasses South Carolina's Low Country, from Charleston to Mount Pleasant, to Beaufort, to Port Royal, to Bluffton, and Hilton Head. He currently serves on the House Natural Resource Committee and the House Veterans Affairs Committee. The Committee on Natural Resources oversees federal conservation programs, establishes renewable energy resources, and monitors offshore oil and gas development. Joe attended the College of Charleston and obtained his bachelor's degree in ocean engineering from Florida Atlantic University in 2005 and his JD from the Northern Kentucky University. He currently lives in West Ashley with his wife Amanda, their son Boone, and their dog Teddy. You all please help me welcome our keynote speaker and our Congressman, Representative Joe Cunningham.
Good to be here. Thank you so much, Blakely, and thank you so much for your service. Only 4 more days, right? I want to thank the Chamber and also Holiday Inn for hosting us here today. It is an honor to be here. It's been a very busy past year up in Washington, D.C. I think that may be an understatement, but I just wanted to take a minute to catch y'all up on exactly what all we've done and all the successes we've had back in 2019. Our office was able to pass 24 bills and amendments out of the House, and of those, 6 bills and amendments were actually signed into law by President Trump. And I want to touch a little bit more on what those were. We saved our constituents, between our Beaufort office and our Mount Pleasant office, we saved our constituents over $1.2 million and secured more than $35 million in federal grants for projects right here in the Low Country. We've closed more than 1,500 constituent cases. And as you know, these cases may range from VA benefits to Social Security or to expediting passports. But one of my top priorities personally was making sure that we got the USMCA through the House by the end of the year, which we did. So Low Country manufacturers and small businesses had the certainty that they need to plan for the future. That was a big win for the Low Country. It's a big win for America. And I'm proud we're able to do that. And I'm thrilled that the Senate recently followed suit. The President will be signing USMCA into law this week. This trade agreement is absolutely critical to maintaining good paying jobs and economic growth right here in the Low Country. Another major legislative effort the President signed into law was the fiscal year 2020 funding package. And I want to let you all know that that funding package includes more than $70 million that I helped secure for important Low Country military priorities. $37.2 million to modernize an outdated live fire training range on Parris Island, which is necessary to ensure the flow of newly trained Marines. $33.3 million in that package was towards constructing a new medical consolidated and distribution center on Joint Base Charleston. Now, last week, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Representative Adam Smith, joined me for a tour of Joint Base Charleston, and I hope to have him back down here in the very near future to take a tour of Parris Island. My top priority, and I sit on 2 committees, Natural Resources and Veterans Affairs, but my top priority is making sure that our military installations have the resources that they need. Now, that also includes making sure that we're able to recruit and retain talented employees to work at these installations. That means making sure that workers at Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort and Parris Island aren't paid less based on arbitrary lines on a map. Now let's go back to the government funding package for a second, though. It includes the highest levels of funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund since 2004. You all may not know, but there's a good chance that the LWCF is responsible for some of your own favorite spots here in Beaufort County, including the Wimby Creek Pier or Hunting Island State Park and the Beaufort Tennis Courts, all of which draws its funding from Land and Water Conservation Fund. I will continue to fight for the LWCF to be permanently funded to the fullest extent. I'm also proud of the NDAA that the President Trump signed into law as well. It includes the largest military pay raise in a decade. It also got rid of the widow's tax and provided federal workers with 12 weeks of guaranteed paid parental leave. A huge, huge step in the right direction. I was able to author and successfully pass an amendment to the NDAA that will help ensure that the proper maintenance of F-35s at Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. Now, the NDAA also included another amendment that I introduced that will help military installations like Parris Island address the rising sea level and flooding problems. It will give them access to funds to construct, replace, and maintain roads that lead to military installations or the air and seaports that are vital to our national security here. As you all probably are well aware of, climate-resilient infrastructure has got to be a priority here in the Lowcountry, especially when we're talking about national security. There's a study that says that by 2050, Parris Island will be underwater or flooded a third of the year. That's why I believe that any infrastructure investment that we make needs to be designed with that in mind for the next 20 to 30 years. And while we're on the topic of infrastructure here, we can't forget the importance of rural broadband. As a member of the Rural Broadband Task Force, I recognize that access to high-speed internet for rural communities is one of the biggest infrastructure challenges in the state of South Carolina. More than 500,000 South Carolinians don't have access to reliable internet. It's why you see families driving their children up to the parking lots of fast food restaurants or rural hospitals so that they can gain access to rural broadband and Wi-Fi. These are people who need to apply for jobs or looking for news or education tools, all of which is out of reach to so many people because of the lack of rural broadband. Also, you all may have seen on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's announcement that they are investing $8.1 million in high-speed broadband infrastructure here in South Carolina. So what's that mean for us? Well, it's anticipated that will reach over 3,700 rural households, 23 farms, 19 businesses, 19 educational facilities, and 8 fire stations. That's a huge win for South Carolina. Your prospects for success in attaining the American dream should not depend on what zip code you're in. And right now, with the lack of rural broadband, that seems to be the case. This grant by the USDA will go a long way towards ensuring rural South Carolinians have the same access to information and opportunity as their urban and suburban counterparts. I want to thank you all so much for having me here today to gloss over a few of the things that we've been working on in Washington, D.C. I would encourage all of you all to sign up for our newsletter, cunningham.house.gov. We send out an email about once a week talking about everything that we're working on, what votes we're taking, and why we're coming down on that side. I look forward to coming back in the very near future to continue updating you all on all the progress we're making as we continue to fight for low-country families and our military installations. Thank you all so much.
Good afternoon, Congressman Cunningham. I do appreciate you for being here today, and I appreciate you giving a keynote address to this wonderful group. My name is Evan Wheeler. I work for Dominion Energy as the district manager, but I also had the pleasure of serving as the chairman for the board of directors for the chamber this year. Now, Blakely, I know this wasn't on your script, so you're going to have to come on up here because I got a little story to tell. Now, she told me I had 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep it fast. 4 years ago, when I moved to Beaufort from Charleston, I didn't know much about the area. I knew that there was a drive-in on Highway 21, and they had wonderful funnel cakes. Yeah. And I know my buddies and I used to love going to Hunting Island to go camping. So aside from that, that was about it. But shortly after I arrived, one of my crews, they were downtown tapping up an overhead service on Carteret Street, and they might have dropped a tree limb. Now, this tree limb didn't contact the ground. It came to the ground and contacted a minivan. And this minivan was Blakely's. But somehow that incident morphed into an opportunity for my involvement with the chamber. My immersion in the chamber has afforded me a chance to connect with socially like-minded businesses and to better understand politics. This effort was motivated and accelerated by Blakely. So thank you. That being said, and Congressman Cunningham alluded to it, Blakely's last day with the chamber is this Friday. I would like to take this time to present a token of our appreciation, and Malcolm had to hide it.
Oh,
But
thank you.
this is from the Chamber Board of Directors. I do appreciate what you've done, how you kind of got me out of my shell. It's been a wonderful past 3 years, so thank you. Do appreciate it. All right, that was only 45 seconds, right, Blakely? Okay, all right. We'll rush through the rest of this. Moving on to our legislative agenda. Each year, the Chamber develops our legislative agenda through the help of our committees, board of directors, and through surveys and feedbacks from membership. We use 4 guiding principles when considering taking position on issues. They must maintain and grow opportunities in Beaufort County businesses, reduce the cost of doing business, manage growth and support infrastructure improvements so the marketability of the area is not threatened. And then we also want to increase the qualified workforce. The survey produced different areas of legislative priorities. This 2020 agenda is based entirely off your feedback from the survey. Thank you for helping us accomplish these items in the coming year. And then based on your feedback in the 2020 survey, 5 areas of concern for our membership include education and the availability of a qualified workforce, diversifying our economic base through economic development, preserving our military installments, and regional infrastructure concerns, and then also tax reform. At your seat, and originally Blakely told me I had to read all that stuff, but at your seat is a copy of the legislative agenda. Take this home with you and let us know if you need more, and then throughout this year we'll be working hard to make sure that we meet your expectations. So thanks to Senator Campson, Senator Davis, and Representative Erickson for making time during the holiday seasons to highlight priorities for this session. And then we actually have a video as well. Thank you for being with us today and for your membership. Please enjoy the video clips as we invite our state representative senators to the stage following our video.
We're seeing the revenues from the state really grow. We've got fantastically good business going on in the state of South Carolina. I can't wait to hear the governor's remarks this year. He always shares the stats, and the little ones that have dribbled out are amazing. Our budget this year will be close to $1.8 billion, which is indicative of good business because we're seeing the revenue. But it also tells us that there's some reform that can be done, which we've been looking at for years, to lower those top tax rates. We've got to do something about our businesses and our second homeowners and that really high property tax. We've got to do something about our individual taxpayers having such a huge hit as the 7%. And we've got to be aware that we need to play the game of making sure our sister states don't outperform us in bringing those tax folks, the people who want low taxes, into their state. We are a state of diversity, and we have to make sure that whatever tax breaks we are putting in place help all the populations to the best of our ability. And that's a pretty heavy lift, but I think we'll see a lot of work go toward that this year. Hunting Island, the state park of my love. I love our whole state park system. I think everyone knows that, but I'm especially attached to Hunting Island. We have had several years of rough weather. It has been a very trying time, and those of us who love that beach and the lighthouse and our cabins know that we have seen more destruction than we've seen growth. Well, it's about to turn around because We have outlasted the other permitting time that we had and the lawsuit that we had to go through to get to that point. We've outlasted the hurricane season this year, and we've finished turtle season, and we have the funding available, the beach renourishments going in, the road systems, our FEMA money have come for the road systems on the inside of the park. The lighthouse is going to get disassembled because it's one of a kind, it's really special. We have to make sure all those pieces and parts are in good order, and some of them have to be made, so we've got to really put a focus on that, get that thing put back together and repainted. And then we actually appropriated money last year to rebuild some cabins. So that's another push for us. I really want to see us be able to utilize that park fully and maybe even bring in some new components to make it special and get it back to, I should say more special, it's always special, but get it more back to the way it used to be with people having the various uses instead of just day use and regular campsites. But our campsites are pretty cool. They all are tech savvy. So we have wireless internet, and I think the folks really enjoy being out there and being able to work a little bit while they're there as well. Longer time to play. Oh, would I love to see the military pay retirement exemption go through? I think we'll see it. I think we have done enough education on the issue that it will finally move forward. It has been several years of combating the questions that have come from members and the public. A lot of them circling around the fact that other groups should have exemptions as well. And I think with our tax reform being able to lower tax rates for everybody, everyone wants to support our military community. We know that it is a checklist that our federal government looks at when we talk about base realignment. We know that we have things that already support our military, but this is one hole that we really need to fill. We need to close that gap and make sure that we are competitive and that we honor those military folks for their hard work and show them that we want them to be here and that we appreciate them being here.
I am a big and the first and most vocal opponent of offshore drilling in the legislature, not because I think we can run the world on renewable energy. We can't. But I have spent a lot of time in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm in the passenger boat business. I own 4 large passenger boats. I've built 3 of them down in the Gulf of Mexico, which means I spent a lot of time down there in the boat yards and in the oil patch. Brought those boats back, personally brought those boats back across the Gulf of Mexico, around Florida, up to Charleston. And so I've seen firsthand the onshore industrialization that is necessary to support offshore drilling, and it is massive. People don't even think about this typically. So I encourage people, if you want to know what I'm trying to prevent when I'm trying to prohibit offshore drilling in South Carolina, I'm trying to prevent us becoming Port Arthur, Texas, or Deer Park, Texas, or Port Fourchon, Louisiana. But go do a Google Earth shot, go to Google Earth, look, take a satellite shot of Port Arthur, Texas, and if you want to know what I'm trying to prevent, that's what I'm trying to prevent happening to our coast. The fact is, we made decisions decades ago in South Carolina that what we were going to do with our coast is we were going to protect large swaths of it. We have a 55-mile section of coastline from the Isle of Palms to the south end of Debidu Beach, all of it protected in perpetuity. We have the Ace Basin, the largest marine estuarine system in the country, largely protected. We just celebrated 300,000 acres in 30 years of the Ace Basin Initiative, protecting all this beautiful property in Colleton and Beaufort counties. And because we protected that property, we have some of the most valuable coastal real estate in the nation. You look at the Gulf of Mexico where they have oil, their real estate is a fraction of the value of our real estate. Their tourism industry, coastal tourism, a fraction of our coastal tourism industry. So we would jeopardize, there's a very strong economic argument to make against it. We would jeopardize established industries for perhaps a $7 billion a year. That's what the Petroleum Institute projects, maybe $7.5 billion a year in 15 years. Well, we have a $17 billion coastal tourism industry now. Why do we want to jeopardize $17.5 billion that we realize now in an established industry for maybe $7.5 billion 15 years from now. I was very emphatic on last year when the Santee Cooper bill was coming through the legislature that we don't take the position that many were taking. We are going to sell Santee Cooper, and we're going to figure out whether that was a good decision later. It was like when Obamacare passed. We'll pass it and we'll see what the bill says after it passes. That's what Nancy Pelosi infamously said. And there were others who were saying, we'll never sell Santee Cooper, and don't bother me with the facts. And I was a very strong proponent, and I ended up being a part of about the 9 or 10 members of the Senate who ended up drafting the final resolution that came out of the Senate. Final resolution was passed into law. I was very emphatic that the only way that we can advance the interest of taxpayers and ratepayers is to have 3 different options presented to the General Assembly by not us, but by investment bankers who do work and actually have sold utilities. I've bought and sold businesses. I've handled legal transactions where you buy and sell business, but I've never bought and sold a utility. And no one in the General Assembly has either. And yet a bunch of members were making decisions. Yeah, we ought to sell it or we shouldn't sell it. I'm agnostic. I don't know if we ought to sell it or not. I want to so what we did in the resolution was we hired an investment banker and with a team of lawyers, accountants, that all necessary to analyze a transaction such as this. And they would they would receive proposals, solicit bids, and receive proposals for purchasing Santee Cooper, receive proposals for managing Santee Cooper, a private utility coming in and managing Santee Cooper, and also solicit a proposal, and I was emphatic about this, letting Santee Cooper get its best foot forward, how it's going to reform, and do we let it continue to operate as a state-owned utility? And look at those 3 options, and the General Assembly is going to be presented with only one of each option. We're not going to, and I'm very proud that I came up with the idea that we will not let any of the bidders engage in lobbying the General Assembly. Preserving our coast and protecting our coast is very important to me. And I'm very proud that this year, while the Ace Basin Initiative in 30 years has protected 300,000 acres, I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I authored the Conservation Bank Act that helped make that happen and accomplish conservation in other parts of the state. In 15 years, the Conservation Bank has protected 310,000 acres by negotiation and compensation with property owners, not regulation. And it's done it at only $500 an acre, with 25% of the property being purchased fee simple, which means you paid a lot more per acre for the fee simple purpose. So it's a bargain deal for taxpayers to accomplish conservation at that scale at such a bargain rate at just $500 an acre.
In regard to the 2020 session, I think one of the most extraordinary things is that we're going to have almost $1 billion in new recurring revenue to spend and an additional $1 billion in non-recurring revenue to spend. So we're going to have about $2 billion more this year to spend than last year. And so that provides us with a lot of opportunities. It allows us to go ahead, for instance, and address Act 388, the disparity between 6% and 4% properties. It allows us to fund things like K through 12 in our roads and bridges and things of that nature. So it's very important that our delegation, remain united, and we are united. We are strong. We are great advocates for our county in regard to getting our fair share of that money. We have a fiduciary duty on behalf of the people of Beaufort to be their representatives up there when that money gets appropriated. Now, I'd love for there to be tax cuts and I'd love for the money to be sent back to people, but if the money's going to be spent, I'm going to be there in the trenches with the rest of the Beaufort County delegation, making sure that we get treated fairly. When you talk about the JAS report, I think what's important to realize is at some point in time in the future, the Charleston port will reach capacity, the Savannah port reaches capacity. And they're going to need to have, room for additional containers. You also need to realize that the shipping industry is moving toward larger ships carrying more containers. The bridges in Savannah and Charleston do not allow those ports to handle those larger ships. So as the capacity in Charleston and Savannah maxes out, and as more of the shipping lines, are using these larger ships, you're going to find the need for the Jasper Port becoming more of a reality. It's at the mouth of the Savannah River. There are no air draft constraints by bridges. There are no depth constraints. So economics is going to drive that and make it a reality. Yeah, one of the things I'm really proud of about our delegation is that in recent years we've gotten, a better treatment in the appropriations process. When I first went into the Senate back in 2009, USCB, for instance, got 38% of the per capita state average. We're now at 80% of the per capita state average, and this year we've been promised to get up to 100% parity. And that's a direct result of our delegation gaining in seniority and being able to advocate more effectively on behalf of the people of Beaufort County. And I anticipate our success in that regard, not only with USCB, but TCL, K through 12, our roads and bridges, Mitchellville, Port Royal Sound Foundation. I mean, all these things are meritorious, and our delegation is growing in seniority and clout, and we can put that to use with the people of Beaufort County.
They're going to turn them on when it's time for y'all to talk. Mine works. So thank you so much to Senator Campson and Senator Davis and Representative Erickson for making time during the busy holiday season to make those videos that we just saw. We appreciate it. I'm Hope Freeman, Director of External Affairs for BP America and a board member of the Beaufort Chamber of Commerce. We're going to spend the next few minutes getting to know our elected officials and our delegation a little bit better. I'm going to introduce each member of our delegation here represented, and we're going to we have provided each one of them in advance a question, and we'll ask them to provide their thoughts on that question in 2 minutes or less. To keep things going, Martin Goodman is going to serve as our timekeeper and will wave when there are 30 seconds remaining, and again when each member reaches their 2-minute mark. And at the end, we will have 6 fun surprise questions to get to know each of them a little bit better. So we're going to start with our delegation chairman, Representative Jeff Bradley. Representative Bradley represents House District 123, covering most of Hilton Head Island. He serves on the Judiciary and Defusky. Serves on the Judiciary and Regulations Committee, and his day job is a financial advisor. All right, Representative Bradley, in 2 minutes or less, tell us about the prospects for tax reform during the 2020 session.
2 minutes or less. 2 minutes or less. As you probably all know, taxes are like a three-legged stool. You have property tax, income tax, and sales tax. We have a group in the House that have, for the last 3 or 4 years, been working on trying to come up with alternatives to reform the taxes. They have taken a report and they put it in the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office right now. They're trying to get it scored, if you will, to understand what the ramifications of some of their suggestions are. Let me start with the one that is least likely to happen immediately, and that's property tax reform. They are waiting to see what happens with education reform before they tackle the funding for education, and as far as that's concerned, and Act 388 and all the commiserate issues associated with that. They are much more interested, or much more focused currently with the surplus Senator Davis was talking about, focused on addressing income tax and sales tax reform. What they're trying to do is reduce the sales tax by removing some of the exemptions and broaden the base to get revenue there. And we're trying to take the sales tax somewhere near 5%, if we can, not sales tax, but income tax in the 5% range. Now, the governor announced on Wednesday of last week he'd like to take it to 6%, but these guys in these committees are looking at something in the 5% or just a little bit under. So, should I talk for 18 more seconds or give it up?
You're good. We're going to Senator Campson. Actually, no, you need this still. Sorry. Okay. No, I've got our lightning round. You're the first one to get to do our lightning round.
How long do we have on the lightning round?
Quick. It's either or questions. So, Representative Bradley, do you prefer beach or marsh?
Marsh.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, wow. Strawberry.
Low country boil or oyster roast?
How can you go wrong with either one of those? A low country boil that has oysters.
Okay. Stocks or bonds?
I'm a stock guy.
Biking or hiking?
Biking.
Shrimp and grits or biscuits and gravy?
Oh, it's just such, look at me. Do I look like I've not taken either one of those?
This makes the next step look easy.
I would say shrimp and grits.
All right, and who is your preferred presidential candidate? And everybody gets that question.
For 2020,
Yes, sir.
Donald Trump.
All right. Senator Campson, you're next. Senator Chip Campson represents the 43rd Senate District, which runs along the coast from Charleston down to Fripp Island. He's the chairman of the Fish, Game, and Forestry Committee, a member of the Agriculture, Judiciary, Transportation, Legislative Oversight, and Rules Committees in the South Carolina Senate. And outside of the Senate, he's an attorney and owns the Spirit Tours of Charleston. Senator Campson, you've been very active in legislative efforts to preempt offshore drilling in South Carolina's coastal waters. Tell us about the legislation you've been championing.
Well, I authored a budget proviso last year that would prohibit the issuance of permits and other licenses that state and local governments issue for any infrastructure that is principally related to offshore drilling. Under the principles of federalism and the U.S. Constitution, this is the only approach from a state and local level that we can take. We cannot prohibit a platform from being constructed 60 miles offshore. We can prohibit the onshore infrastructure necessary to support those platforms, however. And I would say 3 years ago in the legislature, I would have been afraid to take a vote on this issue. I think that we've turned this issue around dramatically to the point where we had a 40-4 vote in the Senate in support of that budget proviso. This year, I am working on making that permanent law. You saw the argument I made on the video, but largely there is a very strong economic argument to be made against offshore drilling, at least for our coast. This same argument does not apply to the Gulf of Mexico, and it doesn't apply to the Bering Sea, because the argument primarily is that we have existing drivers of our economy that will be jeopardized if we permit offshore drilling and the industrialization of the coastline that is attendant to it, that is necessarily attendant to it. I have 30 seconds. And so I'll finish with this quote. John Sawhill, the former president of the Nature Conservancy, said this: "A society defines itself not only by what it creates, but also by what it refuses to destroy." I would suggest to you that we need to define ourselves by refusing to destroy this magnificent coast. I'm privileged to represent half of it. Thank you for that. But not only because it's beauty, but we made a decision decades ago. We weren't going to sell our soul to oil. There are no Keel-Wall resorts or ace basins in the Bering Sea. There are here in South Carolina. We need to protect it. Thank you.
See you. Thank you, Senator. Now, 6 questions in lightning round format for you.
The same questions?
No, everybody gets different ones.
I had my answers for those 6 questions
We
already.
can go around again. Okay. Hunting or fishing?
Depends on what season it is.
You got to give a real answer.
That is the real answer.
All right. Favorite Girl Scout cookie?
The coconut cookies.
Roasted peanuts or boiled peanuts?
Boiled.
Sand gnats or mosquitoes?
Favorite or worst?
You pick.
I'll take gnats over mosquitoes, because where my property is, the mosquitoes are world class. So.
BMW or Volvo?
Do they make pickup trucks? Which one makes a pickup truck?
They both have SUVs.
I don't have a favorite, I'm sorry.
Summer or winter?
Depends on the season.
This is a true politician. Preferred presidential candidate?
Donald Trump.
All right. We're going to switch over here because we got a little bit backwards on the sign, so I'm just staying in order if you don't mind. But if Representative Rivers can hang on to that mic, we're going to switch over to this mic and go to Representative Shannon Erickson, who serves House District 124, covering the city of Beaufort and Ladies Island. She is on the House Ways and Means Committee and the Regulations and Administrative Procedures Committee. Locally, she is an educator, small business owner, and the director of Hobbit Hill Preschools, and a former chamber board member. Representative Erickson, let's let us know your thoughts on the governor's proposal to expand 4-year-old kindergarten in South Carolina, please.
Y'all know I'm not going to be in favor of that, right? Not. Early childhood education, folks. Wow, has it been a long time for us to get that at the forefront of what we're talking about, because we know that it matters so, so vitally in the success of our children. The nuts and bolts of it have to be ironed out. The governor put $53 million in his executive budget aside for it, but here's a little tidbit. The governor's budget doesn't have to balance. I know people don't know that. Our budget actually by Constitution has to balance. So I'm not sure the dollars will be exactly that, but we have at-risk 4-year-olds being served in all but 17 of our public districts. So this would expand those 17 extra districts, and because we've got poverty and children in need in all districts in our state across the board. So we're going to work out those fine-tuned details, but the goal is to take families who cannot afford to have their children in high quality, high impact early childhood and get them there. The other piece I'm going to say is it also puts some emphasis on that 0 to 3 population. We cannot ignore our youngest citizens. So while we may focus some on that 4, please, I hope you'll understand we also need to make sure that we've got good parenting, like our First Steps office here, and a lot of our mixed delivery system of child care centers and our churches and our faith-based and our nonprofits like Head Start are all important pieces of the equation. Then that we've got to make sure everybody works together on that. But we will hopefully see it across 46 counties this year, and I'll be right in front pushing it as hard as I can.
All right. And if you'll hang on to the mic, Representative Weston Newton badly wanted to be here but had to be at the courthouse as part of his law practice for some duties that could not be changed to another day. So Representative Erickson has also agreed to address the question that Representative Newton was prepared to address here today, and that is, can you give us a quick infrastructure update and share what kind of improvements Beaufort County should see as a result of the 2017's road and infrastructure bill?
The penny sales tax, or 2 cents and 2 cents as we add up to 12 additional dollars, is working really well across the state. I hope you've seen lots of orange cones, and not mentioned in the parking lot out here, but that's all economic development, and for that we should all cheer. It's working very well, and the most important piece of it is how we have distributed the dollars based on, and I'm going to steal Representative Bradley's 3-legged stool, but for a different piece. Priorities are being given to economic development, tourism, and safety. Well, Beaufort County stacks up pretty well on safety and tourism. We're lacking some in that economic development piece. So we really need to up our game on diversifying our economic development. We are. I think the work that's being done locally in conjunction with our Department of Commerce is coming across well, but we can do more. You may notice on this side that the Harbor Island Bridge is going along, and if I were not going to say it completely, it might be even a little bit ahead of schedule, which is a good thing, especially for our Honey Island needs the attention. And the work on I-95, while before it was a pushback to even talk about widening that entrance into the state, it's now, thanks to some work in the Senate and some work in the House, become on the list of priorities. Why? Because they are starting to count the use of trucks and those motor carriers. And so we're starting to build upon those dollars and bring them back. Just for your information, 1 penny of sales tax at the pump gives us about $34 million in what we can put into roads. So now instead of getting phone calls of saying I've got potholes, now I'm getting phone calls saying the water is running off the roads and into my driveway because I don't have potholes. So please let us know if you got a problem, but also let's cheer that we're seeing some good work in not having quite as bad of roads as we had. Thank you.
You're still you. So thank you for pinch hitting on that. Now you get your 6 questions.
Okay.
Palmetto tree or live oak?
Live oak.
Favorite Pat Conroy book?
The water is wide.
Big Chill or Forrest Gump?
Depends on the season.
No.
Oh, I can't. Forrest Gump.
Pluff Mud or Sandbar?
Ay, ay, ay. Where I am in life right now, Pluff Mud, but Sandbar really close second.
Low Country Boil or oyster roast?
Oyster roast.
Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram?
Oh, geez. I have them all tied together, so it's all one.
Preferred presidential candidate?
Trump.
All right. We'll go back over here to Representative Rivers. Representative Michael Rivers serves House District 121, serving St. Helena Island and Fripp Island, my in-laws, thank you. He serves on the Agriculture Committee and is a minister, and we're glad to have you here with us today.
Be here.
Representative Rivers, let us know your thoughts on current proposals to increase teacher pay in South Carolina.
Well, I'm optimistic because we have history here in Beaufort County. Beaufort County School District back in the early 2000s. Beaufort County is one of the highest, had the highest teacher salary in the state. So if we could do it then, I'm sure we could do it again. Hopefully what we hear in Columbia is not all just political posturing around this subject, because it is quite palatable to talk about it right now. So hopefully the results will show that we are as concerned about the problem as we are with our rhetoric.
You got another minute if you want to keep going, but you don't have to.
No, my voice is a little hoarse, so
All right.
try to be efficient.
All right, here's your 6 questions. Thank you so much for that. Sunrise or sunset?
Wow. I'm a
can't
country
pick.
boy. All of it, the daytime. How about that?
Alligators or sharks?
Sharks,
Favorite ice cream?
butter pecan.
Me too. Christmas or Easter?
Whoa.
Hard for a preacher to answer.
It's all tied into one, so I like them both.
Frank's Red Hot or Texas Pete?
Texas Pete.
San Francisco 49ers or Kansas City Chiefs?
After the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs.
And preferred presidential candidate?
Well, this area is about diversity. So for diversity, I have to say someone other than Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Last but not least, we're going to head to Senator Tom Davis. Senator Davis represents the 46th Senate District, which covers Beaufort, Bluffton, and Hilton Head Island. He serves on the Senate Finance, Labor, Commerce, and Industry, Banking, Corrections, Medical Affairs, and Legislative Oversight Committees. When he is not in Columbia, he's an attorney and also a former Chamber board member. Senator Davis, you've been at the forefront of the legislative debate around medical marijuana. Can you speak to that issue, please?
Sure. The first thing I would say is I'm really surprised that a lot of the pushback that I've received in the General Assembly has been from Republicans, because what we're after here is a very socially conservative bill that authorizes doctors to let their patients use in certain limited conditions for which there's empirical evidence that cannabis can be therapeutic under a very tightly regulated environment supervised by SLED. It is the most conservative medical cannabis bill in the country. We've got 34 states that have already authorized it because it's very clear that in areas like epilepsy or Parkinson's and cerebral palsy and pain management and things of that nature, it is a much more effective therapy with less side effects than, say, opioids. And quite frankly, I'm not sure why my Republican colleagues want to have legislatures dictate what a doctor and a patient decide is in that patient's best interest. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to happen. I think it's important for all the stakeholders to be at the table, whether it's law enforcement or the medical community. But I think that the danger that the opponents to the bill run is that if they continue to oppose, and as the public continues to demand that something as effective to providing relief demands it be made legal, that they may be on the sidelines when the bill is passed. And I think the bill will be much better if they're at the table coming up with some of these safeguards and some of those conditions that I've talked about. So, you know, I recognize that it's a divisive issue up there, but it really isn't. I think the more people become educated, the more open-minded they get on that.
All right. Thank you. And now for your 6 lightning questions.
Sure.
Sand gnats or mosquitoes?
Sand gnats, I hate them.
Shrimp festival or a taste of Beaufort?
Shrimp festival,
Medium rare or well done?
medium rare.
Favorite music genre?
Rock and roll,
Kale or collards?
collards,
Olympic gold, or Academy Award?
Olympic gold.
Preferred presidential candidate?
Donald Trump.
All right. All right. All right, finally, we've got a new session planned for you all today. We're calling this session Thumbs Up and Thumbs Down, and Martin's going to hand out the signs. Each of our legislators is going to have a sign with a thumbs up on one side and a thumbs down on the other. So we have pulled together a list of issues of importance to this community, and we're going to do a lightning round of questions to see how each of you on stage feels about each of these issues. Thumbs up or thumbs down. All right, everybody ready? Number one, here we go. Eliminating the tax on military retirement. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Sale of Santee Cooper. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
We gotta wait on the information.
Hurricane evacuation in 2020. School choice?
What?
School choice? Business license tax reform. Lottery dollars for tech school certificate programs. Ban on offshore drilling. Preserve shrimping in Port Royal. Rural broadband expansion. Teacher pay raises. F-35s at Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. Governor McMaster's proposed income tax reduction. And keeping Hunting Island the best state park in the whole state of South Carolina. Thanks to all of you for being here and part of this legislative panel, and thank you very much for your service and your leadership.
Okay, thank you all for being with us today.
The County Channel is also available on video on demand. Go to BeaufortCountySC.gov, scroll down to Public Meetings, click Watch Now, and then click the Video on Demand button and select your program from the list.
Call the meeting to order.
If you'd like a DVD of this program, click on the link on the right and fill out the order form. And thank you for watching the County Channel.
In our time of need, who will be there for us? Who will show up? Show us compassion. When others desert us, abandon us, harm us, who will rescue us? Feed us, heal us. Who will promise to find solutions, find homes, find families, find love? When others are silent, who will hear our voices? For almost 40 years, it's been you. All of you sitting here tonight. It is because of you that these animals have a voice. They have a home. And quite literally, they have a life. Over the last year, over 3,000 abandoned, injured, abused animals have been cared for. All of this funded entirely by the private sector, with no public funding. This says so much about the heart of our generous community. And now, we embrace an opportunity. The opportunity to improve, enhance, and expand upon our mission. The opportunity to make even more of a difference. Save even more lives. This is our chance to reflect on all that we've done so far. But then pause and say, that is not enough. We can do more. This is the time to do more. And if we don't, who will? We have the exciting opportunity to be a part of the new Beaufort County Animal Campus. The current county shelter, located in Beaufort, is old, antiquated, and in dire need of replacement. With the help and support from our Hilton Head Humane Association, big changes are in the works. 100 acres in Okatee will incorporate walking trails and a new Beaufort County Animal Campus. Our Hilton Head location will remain and operate as usual. This new campus will replace the old Beaufort County shelter and add an adoption center and spay-neuter clinic. We will operate the adoption center and clinic, and Beaufort County will operate the shelter. A true partnership, which will get us one step closer to our goal, to be a no-kill county. Two brand new buildings, spanning 6 acres, over 20,000 square feet, dedicated to improving lives. Not only the lives of our animals, but people as well. This is a substantial investment in our community. A $7 million investment, but a serious need calls for serious action. Who will step up and make this happen? Who will commit to doing it right? Who will promise these animals a better life? We will. We are the Hilton Head Humane Association. In this time of need, we are here.